Welcome to Thrive, a Paychex business podcast, your blueprint for navigating everything from people to policies to profits. And now, your host, Gene Marks.
All right, everybody, I'm here with Nicole Kazak. She is the Director of Strategy and Sales of the Sage Intacct Accountants Program.
Yes.
That is a huge title.
It is.
And I just want you guys to know, I've known Nicole for a number of years back in the Philadelphia area when you were working at a smaller accounting firm at the time. And you got into Intacct at the time.
We did.
And then at some point you were like, well, you tell the story. You went to work for Sage.
Sure, absolutely. So back in 2009, we had decided that we were doing various things with our clients, and we were using all different types of technology.
Okay.
So we started to do a research project to say what technology is going to take us to the next stage with our clients, and how can we start to standardize on one technology.
This is when you were at the accounting firm, you're saying?
It was,
Yeah,
it
okay.
was, because
Right.
I had a spreadsheet that had probably 100 entries on it for all the various systems that people were using, who owned the licenses, how many licenses, how to be accessed.
Right.
So we were able to go through and we did a research project to say, what system should we use? We ended up going with Sage Intacct, which at the time was a cloud-based system, and
Right.
one of the first cloud-based systems.
Right.
And
I think it was like just Intacct at the time. I don't even know if Sage had bought it at the time.
Correct.
Yeah, right.
Sage did not buy it until
Right.
2019.
Right.
So we then went through and we were very transparent with our clients and said, we are going to standardize on this system.
Yeah.
We would love for you to come on this journey with us. And we were then, over a period of about 2 years, able to transition all of our clients to Sage Intacct. Intacct at the time.
Sure.
Absolutely. And it really helped because we were then able to have all of our staff focused on one technology. And we were able to then accelerate in industry. I know we're going to talk about industry verticalization.
Yeah, that's fine. The reason why, so this was how long ago? This was 12 years ago, 15 years ago?
This is about 12. So this is about 2010. We started the project, and about 2011, we then standardized our clients.
And the reason why I say that is because back in the day, that was when the cloud was all new to businesses. So you're telling people that you're going to standardize on this cloud-based application. And I remember even thinking that man, I know my clients, they don't even trust the person delivering their mail, let alone trusting moving all their data to the cloud. It's kind of a risky thing. And now, of course, everybody is, in the cloud.
Everybody's doing it. So at the time, what we had to do is we had to educate our clients and our prospects. And it was really interesting because it was, I'm not quite sure I trust the cloud. What are we doing here? And I said, are you doing online banking?
That's the example I always use.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
So why is this any different? This information is probably even, different than what you're, using right now.
Sure.
But we did education, and it wasn't even use us, buy our product, do this, use our services. We were just educating clients and prospects that this is where the future of accounting is going.
Yeah.
And we hope that you can come with us.
Don't you think that it's like I'm seeing history repeat itself with AI?
Absolutely.
Right. I mean, everybody is oh my God, AI, I don't know if I can trust it. And I don't know if it's, about privacy of my data. And everybody's going to lose their job. Do I build it? Whatever. And to me, I'm hey man, that train is rolling, and you're going to have, just like the cloud train rolled, and people, it's they didn't really have a choice. They were just taken to the cloud, and that's what happened.
Yes.
I mean, give me your thoughts on that.
So what I'm finding with AI is there are so many use cases out there, and I believe that everybody is going to use it the way that will benefit them and their clients.
Great.
I also agree that everybody's deciding, do I make it? Do I buy it? Do I partner with someone? And I think that it's evolving so quickly that we do have to keep our finger on the pulse of it.
Yeah.
But I do believe that we shouldn't build it ourselves.
Right.
Let's collectively work with everyone to make the products that are out there better.
Don't you think that it's your job at Sage to build it? Right?
Absolutely, yes.
I mean, you guys are the software company. You guys are the ones that, if you're an accounting firm or even if you're an end user and you're a business, I know how to manufacture paper and film, or I'm a construction company. I don't know nothing about AI.
Right.
That's your job. That's Sage's job.
It is. And we have the benefit of working with Aaron Harris, who I call a technologist. He thinks 15 years ahead of the rest of us. But at the same time, Aaron Harris, Sage, are working with AICPA, CPA.com to really make sure that they're answering the questions that the profession has about AI.
Right. Where do you think AI is going for this profession? Is it going to replace accountants?
I do not think it's going to replace accountants. What I think it's going to do is I think it's going to allow accountants to be upskilled and to free them from the mundane tasks.
Yep.
You know, once upon a time we were all excited because you have Power BI and tools where you're not necessarily in Excel and doing manual operations anymore.
Right.
Then you're able to analyze the data.
Right.
I believe that it's the same thing because who really wants to sit there and code AP transactions? But if you have AI that can now learn and code the transactions for you, you can then become more of a consultant and more of an analyst and say, hey, do you realize that you're paying 19 checks a week to this one vendor? Why are we doing that? Let's have one check, or let's do one, wire transfer.
Right.
And I think that it'll start to allow us to see things in a different way. But I do not believe that it's going to replace.
I couldn't agree with you more. I also think that we do. I'll give you an example. So my company still sells. We sell CRM software still, right?
Yes.
And back in the day, we knew each other. We were selling CRM software. We're still doing it. We'll do a webinar, and we have a webinar scheduled for next month that is going to be about customizing this CRM product. Okay. And the guys, one of my employees, is doing it. And he said to me, like, "Oh, should we do this? Like, then we're kind of giving away like trade secrets. We're telling people how to do it." And I'm like, "No, because people are still going to need us to help them do it and explain things to them." I don't see any of my clients, using an AI product to get answers to their tax questions. I see their accountants doing that and then interpreting the responses that they're getting from their AI tools to put it into plain English for their clients to understand, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I agree with you. CAS is very hot right now.
Yeah.
If you look at the top 100, if you look at the CAS benchmark survey, everybody's CAS practice is growing.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's an innovative community that is talking with each other.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of business to go around. And I absolutely agree that you're not necessarily giving away any trade secrets because they will take it and do what they will in their industry. Going back to when I was an accountant and working with an accounting firm, at the same time, I was also working with other accounting firms to help them stand up their CAS practices. And eventually I said, why don't I move over to the vendor side and I can have access to more, because you are able to learn things, and we have such a great community that wants to help each other grow and scale because there's plenty of business out there.
I'm sure you're finding as well that you guys offer all these tools and all these things that can help firms, and your biggest job is explaining to these firms exactly how they can be used and that they actually exist, right?
Yes. So I was doing a panel this morning, and one of the questions was, how can we train our individuals? What can we do? How can we use the technology better? And my suggestion to them was, call your vendors and ask them, what aren't you doing?
Couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you more. And we don't do that enough. Like, we do not beat up our software vendors enough.
Right. And it's not even beating up. It's more just, hey, if I was coming into you and I was asking, what aren't I doing? I can look at your firm and say, hey, you only have one individual that's certified, or I only see 3 individuals that are in this training program. Yeah. This is included. I think that you should start to allow some of your individuals to have the time to then utilize some of the resources that you have available.
Brings me to individuals. So, you're dealing with accounting firms all the time. We have a huge issue about retaining and recruiting employees,
Right.
attracting people to the profession. It's getting better. I mean, recent news turned. Came
I was
around,
excited
saw
about the
that,
recent
was
news.
Great news. What makes me laugh about that is that a lot of people in the profession are like, "Oh my gosh, this is great!" Almost as if it's like a surprise. They're
Right.
like, "Oh wow!" Like it's clearing up. Like
Yeah.
we don't know why the sun's coming out, but apparently it's coming out.
Sure.
What more can CPA firms do to attract talent to their firms? You know,
Sure.
like how can they improve the situation?
So, a few suggestions that I have for accounting firms
And by the way, you are
individuals-
well in your rights to make your suggestions because this is what you do.
Thank
you work with them all the
thank
time.
you. Yes. But accounting firms and even individuals in the firms, I think it's just about educating others out there that accounting is innovative.
Yeah.
It's agile.
Yeah.
I think that we get this bad rap. Like, honestly, maybe we just need some PR. But I had the opportunity this past year to watch my daughter, who's a senior in high school, work with her friends who are all making a decision about what they're going to do with their lives. And what I would try to do is say, let me explain to you what accounting can be for you.
Sure.
You know, this is what you can do with it. Even if you're in marketing, you can still work in accounting.
100%.
Even if you are in, technology, you can still work in accounting. And I think that there are all these facets. So it's just a matter of getting out there and helping them to understand that it's not just tax. Everybody's like, oh, Mrs. Kasich, do you do taxes? And I said, I do not do taxes.
Yeah.
This is what I do. I
Yeah.
do speaking engagements. I work with other individuals to help them grow and scale their business. And we have fun.
Yeah.
And I have met some of the most innovative individuals in the accounting profession. So I
You're
think
like
it's
you're a perfect example of this. I mean, like when was the last time you did like a tax return or prepared a financial statement? It's just not what you do. I mean,
Correct.
you're in sales and you're in development and you're in the
Yes.
relationship business as well.
Sure.
But you've got a background in accounting, and that is why you can. Are you a CPA?
I am a CPA.
Do you maintain it?
I do maintain it. I'm actually here getting some of my CPE credits right now. And I have to do my PA ethics on a regular basis.
Why do you? Which drives me nuts. The ethics stuff as well. Why do you maintain it? You're not in a public firm anymore. Like, why do you do it?
I am not in a public firm, but I really value
Yeah.
the CPA
Yeah.
that I have behind my name.
Yeah.
I worked really hard for it.
Yes.
And I do think that it still has a place out there when I'm talking to individuals that I take the time to stay up to date on things. And CPE these days, it's not just tax and audit updates.
Agreed.
I'm doing CPE on a regular basis around what are the next technology innovations that are coming out. AI in the accounting profession, change management,
Sure.
which is really big.
Sure.
So I worked really hard for it, and I want to maintain it.
I worked my ass off for my CPA, and I remember struggling through the exams and all that kind of stuff.
I know.
And I was like, there is no way that I'm giving up this certificate. And I have friends that have like let it lapse or whatever. I'm like,
Yes.
how could you possibly do that after all the work that you put in?
Right.
I mean, and to talk about the CPE credit, and to your point, when you look at what you can get CPE for, you can get CPE in different classes on marketing, on fraud,
Yes.
on financial management, on personal financial planning and wealth management. These are like all like really important things
They are.
everybody should know regardless of what
Yes.
you do, I think the profession itself, if I was running a ad campaign for like the AI CPA, they're right over here. So
I know, we can't say that. Okay, we
But
might
it-
have to cut that.
if I was running an ad campaign for them, I would feature CPAs that are not in public accounting. Like you had mentioned, I would venture the chief marketing officer for some company that's a CPA,
Yes.
or somebody that's working in the sports field or whatever that's a CPA or what
Right.
because it all involves financial management.
It really does. And even if you hear Mark Hosiel talk about how he was a CPA working in a non-CPA firm, he
Yeah.
was still able, that held value
Yeah.
to them.
Yep.
And he was able to do that. The other thing is I really do try to talk about the fact that I have fun
Yeah.
in my profession.
Yeah.
When I was in college, I originally wanted to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
And I was taking law classes,
Sorry.
and I did not enjoy that. But I
Yeah.
had a minor in accounting, and I did that for fun. I love taking those classes. And I said, why am I doing this if I'm really enjoying this over here? But as I said, the opportunities that I've had as an accountant, both in practice and as a vendor, have been amazing. So,
all right. So you work with a lot of different accounting firms.
I do.
At Sage. Who turns you on? Like, what firms you're like, these guys got their act together and they're crushing it now and they'll probably crush it in the future? Like, what?
Right.
Who does that? Without naming names, but like, what are they doing?
I won't name names,
Right.
but what I find is that firms that can be agile
Right.
when making decisions
Right.
about technology, governance, I find that they are really great to work with. I know that there's a lot of red tape sometimes with accounting firms, but I've seen firms make decisions, work through them, and they're not perfect decisions.
Sure.
They're not going to get it right from the beginning, but then what they're able to do is they're able to be agile and adjust as they see what the market is doing, adjust as they see how their staff is responding to these types of things, and also the ones that have been able to work through their compensation structures to make it beneficial for all to work together.
Tell me a little bit about that. Like, what do you mean by compensation structures?
Sure. So,
Can of worms.
not necessarily.
Okay.
So what I'm going to say is I work with CAS, which is, client advisory services. When you have a full CPA firm, at times a bad audit could be an amazing CAS client because you would have reoccurring revenue. So as long as you are able to work through that compensation structure, that you're not taking it out of one bucket and putting it into another bucket.
So you mean compensation with your clients, not necessarily the people working in your firm? Is that what you mean? Or?
No, in the firm. So for instance, if I'm an audit partner and I have a book of business, but I make a decision that this audit could possibly be better served in our CAS practice.
Right.
As long as you have some reciprocity there.
I see what you mean.
And it's not, I'm losing a $50,000 audit. It's, we're gaining a $100,000 CAS client. And where firms have done it right and have been able to work through some of those compensation structures with their partners and almost reward them for making some of those decisions, I've seen that that's been really beneficial.
Yeah, that's a great answer, because so many firms that I see, the partners operate on an island, and they have their own clients, they have the staff that they assign to those clients, and it's their own little P&L. Mm-hmm. And you're right. I mean, I guess the firms that really have their act together have a more of a global outlook amongst their own partners, right? So it's what's good for the firm, not necessarily what's good specifically for the partner. It can be shared.
Right.
And then ultimately that would benefit all partners together.
It would. And I've also seen some firms that have really done a fabulous job of internal education.
Okay.
Where they are every month going out and talking about the services that they're providing and talking about what they can do and how they can benefit the firm clients. And that gets people excited.
Sure.
Especially case studies.
Sure.
I recently had one where it was a family office. They had 13 different systems that were running. They were able to consolidate to 2 systems.
Right.
And in the process, they were also able to find a $300,000 tax break for the client.
Wow, that's amazing.
So it benefited the CAS side because they were able to work with the systems. It benefited the tax side because they were able to offer value to their client. So that was a win.
If you were to leave Sage, not that you would ever leave Sage, great company, you'll be there forever, but say you were to leave Sage and you're going to start up your own CPA practice.
Yes.
What kind of a practice would it be in 2025?
In 2025?
Right now.
Right now, there's a lot of industry focus on family offices. And I think that that's really interesting.
What do you mean by family offices?
So a family office can be, high net worth individuals.
Okay.
But what happens is they have their hands in many different areas of business. So an example is a family office could have trusts set up for all of the children.
I see.
They then own properties in multiple states.
I know exactly what you mean.
They have a farm for the horses that they then work with. So, it's one business, but then you have multiple practices underneath it. So I think that would be really interesting.
That's super cool. And, I know a guy, we're both in the Philadelphia area, so I know a guy who our kids played Little League together. He did just that. He was his own, and he was and still is the accountant for a large real estate developer in the Philadelphia area with lots of developments in the Bluebell and Montgomery County area. Yes. And he handled their family business.
Exactly.
And their family business, it was not the real estate, it was everything. You know what I mean? Just like you said. And that is a growth area, particularly
it
for wealth.
It absolutely is a growth area, especially as we're getting to a point where generational wealth is getting ready to be handed down.
Yeah. So, I don't even think you need experience in accounting. You need to be a psychiatrist to do that kind of a work. So I don't know.
Well, so what's really interesting, though, is one of the questions that you had was, what would I have told myself in college?
I was getting to that next, so go ahead. What would you have told yourself?
I would have told myself to major in accounting and minor in psychology.
I can't believe you say that, because when people ask me, if I were to go back to college, what would I take? Same answer. I would take psychology. Why?
I would take psychology because I didn't realize how much of the accounting profession is working with the emotional side of individuals.
Yes.
And all aspects.
Yeah.
Compensation. Everybody gets uptight about the money there.
Yeah.
Mergers and acquisitions. Do I actually do this? What is this going to do to my family if I go through with this? Even making decisions that aren't emotional, but you still have to manage the emotions.
Couldn't agree with you more. And I always think that, accounting, and no disrespect to all of us in the profession, it's not that hard to learn, okay? But being a good psychologist,
Change management.
And change management.
Change management. So, we're dealing with new technology. Many firms come to us and they decide that they're going to use Sage Intacct in their practice.
Right.
One thing that we try to work with them on is to make sure that the change management factors and the education is going up and down.
Right.
And what I mean by that is you have to have leader buy-in, but you also have to have staff buy-in.
Right.
So when you are looking at new technologies, involve the staff in those decisions. We have 3 that we are looking at. I would love for you to test this out and provide your feedback. Was this easy to use? Any concerns? How would you, support this? And that's that change management in psychology. We often find that sometimes individuals think that they need new technology, where it might actually be processes that need to be adjusted. And so then getting back to the psychology, you have to talk them through that side of it.
Yeah.
What are you doing now? What would you like to do? And not what would you like to do in the next month? What would you like to do in the next 6 to 12 months? And how can you work together to make sure that you're making the right decisions for your firm or for your business or for your family practice to make sure that you can move forward effectively?
This conversation went on longer than I thought it was going to. It just got away from me. It was great. It was great. Thank you. That was awesome. Do you have a topic or a guest that you would like to hear on Thrive? Please let us know. Visit payx.me/Thrive Topics and send us your ideas or matters of interest. Also, if your business is looking to simplify your HR, payroll, benefits, or insurance services, see how Paychex can help. Visit the resource hub at paychex.com/works. That's WORX. Paychex can help manage those complexities while you focus on all the ways you want your business to thrive. I'm your host, Gene Marks, and thanks for joining us. Till next time, take care.
This podcast is property of Paychex Incorporated 2025, all rights reserved.